So let's take a look at graphics card 2. Now this one is a bit simpler than the first one. Now the way this is going to work is we're going to have an image which we store in a ROM. And this is the image that is in the ROM at the moment. And I will show you how to generate these images in the next video. But what we want to do is have a command, and this new command I've generated is called splash, and it just generates a splash screen, or if you like to call it, a background image. So what we want to do is first of all choose this graphics card. So we've seen this in other videos. This graphics card is given by the value 4. So if the last digits that come in from our address bus is a value 4, then we're going to use our memory mapped IO. We'll have the enable will be high, and whenever the control set goes high then low, you'll see it pulses this value through. So now we've got access to these values, and we will maintain access to these values until the end of the entire 64 kilobits of our ROM. So you can see that this point is going high, this point is high. Now we're waiting for the clock in order to clock this information out of the ROM into these values here and onto the display. So we just let the system clock run through to do that. But in order to get it on the display, remember the display is going to be 256 values in the X direction. So we're going to count for 256 for X. And then when it gets back to 0 again, then we've got to add 1 on to the value of Y. And then count 256 for X. And then 1 on for Y. And 256 for X. And 1 for Y. So it means that we're going to run along like this, and then down, and along, and down, and continually add each line in order to create the whole image on the screen. So it means that we've got 3 little counters here. And you can see that I'll start counting through just now. So you can see that as the counter counts up, that's value 1. It's taking a value out for this address here, and then it moves on to the next address, and so on and so forth. So right now it's counting up to 256. So this will count up to 256. And you'll notice this value here won't count up at all. So this is the X value counting up to 256. Whenever it goes round to 0 again, then we're going to go through a comparator, and when this value here counts to 0 again, it's going to allow this counter to start counting up, and this is a Y counter, and this will count up to a value of 1. So if I allow this to run, and this is going to go up to FF, so I think I can let it run a little bit quicker to get it up there quicker. So whenever this gets up to close to FF, I'll stop it and you can just see the changes occurring. So A, B, C. Right, okay, so I'll clock in the rest myself, okay. So that goes to the value F, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, B, C, D, E, F. So this FF, so the next clock pulse comes along, it goes to 0. So this line goes to 0, does the comparison, it's equal, so this line here will start counting. You can see the Y value is going to 1. So we've put in the first 256, and now the Y value has gone down to a value of 1. Now this will continue doing this until we get the overflow coming out both on this line here. So that means that the X is counted to 256, and the overflow will come out in this Y counter here as well at the same time. So that means that this will have counted 256X, this will have counted 256Y. The two values here will go high, so it means this will go high here, and this point here will now go low. So that will be finished counting the entire values. And you can see that this little counter here is going to actually have the entire address going into the ROM unit here. So that's the basics of how this is going to work. And then whenever we're actually finished here, I can have an input here again saying we're finished with this command. And when we finish with this command, you can see we no longer have this connected to the output. And that's important. We don't want this to be connected to the output now, because we may want to be using the other graphics card. So it means that we can only use one graphics card on the bus at any one time. And this is the same value here that we used in order to stop the graphics card 1. So that's the basics of it. Let's have a little look in the next video and we'll see the actual command and we'll see it running up.